Lumberjacks is sponsored by Echo, only professional grade with 5-year warranty. Crown, protect, maintain, save. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Yamaha, rev your heart.
We're here in Lindsay, Ontario for the 35th annual Fleming Loggersports competition held the first Saturday every November. A collection of intercollegiate student athletes from across Eastern Canada. 7 different colleges and universities participating in singles events, doubles events, as well as team events. We're going to head down to the action and get things started. Well, 35 years of the Lindsay competition held the first weekend in November. The weather can vary over the years. We got pretty good weather this year. And this week, I am joined by our television analyst, Dave Johns. And Dave, you're a graduate of the college system down in the U.S. Just tell me a little bit about the scoring system.
Yeah, it's a lot different than the professional series, Bill. Everybody's chasing down that winning time. Winning time gets 100 points. Everything else is proportional after that.
Now, we're going to get started with the women's single buck. Here we got Nadine Perron from the Fleming 1 team. We're sawing through 16 inches of trembling aspen. I know you refer to it as popple. And here's Nadine. Oh, she's struggling right out of the gate.
Yeah, she's got to keep that saw nice and flat, Bill. She's working through it, but she's got that Mercier saw just a singing now.
And one of the keys in the single buck, Dave, I know is using the full blade. She could really be pulling it back a lot more and probably pushing into the wood a little bit more.
Yeah, but you can see she's using all of her body in this saw, Bill. She's going to have a great time when she gets down to the bottom of the 16-inch log.
Well, we're just heading over the 30-second mark at this point right now, and she's ready to drive things off. One of the keys, of course, is also to keep it level at the very end so she doesn't hang up. A little bit of a hang up right there, and Nadine Perron sets the time to beat at 35.31. A good start to the women's single buck.
Wow, she's got to be happy with that.
Pretty good cut, but I'm sure you probably would have been better. You struggled a little bit out of the gate there.
Yeah, got a little stuck. I've had better ones, but everyone's a learning experience, so I'm gonna take away some learning things, and next comp, those will be fixed.
Well, this is going to be the last heat we're going to show you in the women's single buck, where you have a couple of competitors here on the women's 2 team, specifically Dalhousie University's Hillary Schramm taking on Catherine Landry from McGill University. And the women's number 2 teams are not necessarily inferior, maybe a little bit less experienced, but again, they can step up to the plate and do well.
Absolutely, Bill. These ladies, this is their first time stepping on a collegiate stage here at Fleming. But look at right off the bat, Hillary Schramm is just a-flying with that single saw.
And there's a lot of good coaching expertise. You see Jeff Larkin on the right-hand side and Stephanie Note on the left-hand side. Both good, experienced single buckers coaching these competitors through it. And look at Hillary Schramm on the right-hand side. She's doing really well.
Yeah, that saw, Bill, flawless technique right now. Maybe a little bit too much heel in the back and that push stroke, but she's got that saw just a singing. Looks like a brand new Mercier saw.
Time to beat is 35.31. She's going to do that. And Hillary Schramm from Dalhousie University comes in with a 30.56 to take over the lead in the women's single buck. Really good job there, nice and steady, keeping your saw blade flat.
Yes.
Is that one of the things that Jeff is coaching you on?
You're really looking for keeping a constant angle. You don't want to change that angle too much, because if you do, you'll hang up on those teeth on the saw.
And towards the end, he's reminding you on every stroke, don't change the angle, don't change the angle.
Yes, it's critical because you're leaning down more when you get to the bottom, right? And so you want to keep that angle while getting lower into the wood.
Well, a couple of solid heats there, Dave, for the women's single buck with McGill, number 1 team, taking it and earning 100 points. And they had a time of 24.06. We're heading now into the men's single buck when you're showing you the top 2 heats. This first heat is Fleming 2 team taking on the McGill A team, featuring Alex Doman, a solid competitor here in the men's single buck.
Yeah, the Fleming 2 team, James Kaus here, some big boys on the stage here in the single buck. And here they go. They are just smashing through these 16-inch aspen logs.
You see the coach of the McGill team there, Stephanie Note. She's an excellent single bucker. She's coached by J.P. Mercier, and Alex Doman is motoring through this wood.
Yeah, definitely graduate to the J.P. Mercier School of Sawing. They're flying through the bottom of that. It is going to be impressive timing. Wow, what a cut.
He comes in with a 17.96 and a time to beat in the men's single buck. It's obviously important to use the full saw, and you are pulling the blade all the way through back the wood. Just tell me the importance of keeping it flat and using the full blade.
Using the full blades, you get to utilize all the teeth that are on the blade. You want to use as much as you can so you can dig through so much more wood. Like if you're leaving the 6 inches out still, you could be using and going so much more faster, and you've got the more weight into it, and it's just so much better to use, if you can, to use the full blade.
Well, 1796 is an outstanding time here at a collegiate competition in 16 inches of aspen. This next heat, the final heat we're going to show you, is Eric Butson, second-year forestry student at Fleming College, and he has a hard time right out of the gate there.
Yeah, he's a big jacked-up kid here. He's got the pace on the saw right now, but Hang City in the top, he's going to have to find it here in the bottom, Bill.
And he's really short-stroking it. It looks like he's almost on a crosscut saw as he makes his way down to the bottom. Oh, and he breaks the cut!
That is Heartbreak City there for young Eric Butson, trying to find that angle again to finish it off here. Tough break for him. This should knock him out of the top 5.
And he struggles to a 27.28 finish. Going okay with a lot of good speed, maybe not using as much of the blade as you'd like to use.
Yeah, I mean, I got caught up right at the start and it kind of threw me off, and then I tried to pick up my pace higher than usual to kind of make up for that hang up, and then I kind of got sloppy at the end there and popped off a part of the cookie, and all the time was lost trying to get the saw back onto the cut. So it's the way it goes, and hopefully do better in Montreal.
Well, clearly the class of the field was the McGill 1 team getting 100 points. But look at the battle between 2, 3, 4, and 5. Only 5 points separating them on the scoreboard. Well, the Lindsay campus here at Fleming College in Lindsay, Ontario has got a lot of great programs. Just before the show got started, I had a chance to talk to Kaylee Watson.
So I'm in the ecosystem management program at Fleming, and it's interesting because we take a lot of different aspects of the environment, including the wildlife and the forestry aspects of it, and bring it all into one program to give us a really broad view of what's going on in the environment. On our campus, we have a lot of great facilities that we are able to use to give us hands-on experience with the things that we're actually using in the field. So we have a great forest that we use commonly, we have a wetland system, and a whole bunch of great facilities.
Well, this next singles event is going to be the chainsaw event. We're going to be showing you the top 2 women's heats, the top 2 men's heats. This first heat is McGill University's Danielle Duquette.
Yeah, they got to make 2 cuts inside of 4 inches, Bill, with these Echo CS 620 saws, 59 cc's of awesomeness, and what a cut she's got, wow!
And Danielle Duquette from McGill starts with a 6.48 and 2 cuts of 8x8 timbers. That's going to be a tough time to beat as we head into heat number 2. Heat number 2 is University of New Brunswick's Brittany McLean.
Yeah, Brittany looks pumped up for this event, Bill. We saw her prepping before this thing. She's got the hands up on the wood. She's ready to go.
It's going to be 1 cut down, 1 cut up. Looks like she's got a little bit of a knot in the end of her log there right now. That could slow her down just slightly. 6.48 is the time to beat.
Yeah, I don't know, Bill. These 59cc saws are powerful. Wow! 6.24 seconds. That is good enough for the win.
Good enough for the win on 100 points for University of New Brunswick, led by Brittany McLean. McGill right behind, only 4 points, 96 points, and the rest all fall in line as we head into the men's stock chainsaw. Same rules, same wood, 8x8 trembling aspen. We're going to be showing you the top 2 heats. Davin Sanders for University of New Brunswick is going first.
Absolutely, Bill. Still battling these Echo 620s here. The big problem here is they've got to stay inside that 4 inches of wood, and these guys get a little antsy in this stock saw.
It's 1 cut down and 1 cut up. It looks like Davin slowed down a little bit there. He's got a big knot in that piece of wood.
Oh, big swing and a miss there, and oh, disappointment on his face. We're going to have to see how these times shake out.
Well, a couple of flaws there caused him to get an 8.57 for UNB1 team. Davin Sanders is very disappointed. This next heat, the last heat we're going to be showing you is Jordan Cheatham from Fleming 1. He's looking to better the score of 8.57 to take down some points for his team.
He's got a nice wide stance. He's ready to go. Hands are on the wood, and here he goes. Echo saw right into the top of that log, Bill. Oh, but a big bobble at the end.
He's going to be disappointed with that with a 6.47. Probably going to get him into the top 5 as we look at the results in the men's chainsaw division. It was McGill 2 team with a 5.98, taking 100 points. Look at how tight it is at the top there. 99 points for the McGill 1 team, and Jordan Cheatham from Fleming 1 comes with a 92.
Closed captioning is brought to you by 1867 Confederation Log and Timber Frame, Canada's leader in log and timber frame homes since 1979.
Now, it's always great coming back to Lindsay. It was my home for 18 years back in the 80s and the 90s. First weekend in November is the Fleming Loggersports competition. Beautiful downtown Lindsay, and the Lindsay Locks here, part of the Trent Severn Waterway. We are on the campus of Fleming College. We're heading into the Super Sweet Saw event. Another singles event. Here in this event, It is 6x6 timbers for the women, and they've got to make 4 cuts. And a little bit later on, we're going to be showing you the men 8x8 timbers making 4 cuts. This first heat of 2 here, Jessica Rouleau from McGill University.
Yeah, this is not your grandfather's bow saw in this one, or super Swede saw, as you alluded to first, Bill. Look at the technique behind this Swede saw right here, Bill.
Once again, a very good chance. It's a J.P. Mercier saw. He supplies McGill University with all the saws. Very, very thin cut there, dangerously close to breaking out.
Yeah, she's got to be careful. Up here, you can get disqualified for broken cookies. She's got one more cut after this one. Great cut going so far.
All the way through the first 3 cuts, she's staying true to her form here on cut number 4, pacing herself nicely. Going to come up with a great time here as she just passes the 35-second mark. And Jessica Rouleau from McGill University, she stops the clock at a 38.11. That's going to be a tough time to beat.
That was an absolute smoker of a cut, Bill.
So I noticed you got 4 cuts there, and the first cut, you're kind of testing out the wood there, but on the second cut, were you getting too aggressive?
I was putting lots of pressure on my second cut. I think I really struggled with my last one. It could be me, it could be the wood, it could be the saw.
Your third cut, you got razor thin, a really thin disc there. Were you nervous about maybe breaking that disc?
Not really. Usually I go for smaller cookies. They say that smaller cookies, they are easier because you don't have as much to cut, and there could be something further in the wood.
Yeah, she was definitely cutting them thin to win there on those second 2 cuts, Bill.
Well, that is definitely a lumberjack term that is used by many, thin to win. Megan McKinley is up next, University of New Brunswick, #1 team. 38.11 is the time she's going to try and take down. Once again, it's 4 cuts, a 6x6 Aspen, and a little bit of a hard time there right at the beginning.
Yeah, a lot of tension in that first cookie, as Jessica alluded to in that last heat. You want to cut them thin and go for the win, but she may have had a knot in the end of that. Who knows when they started on this one, Bill?
Grabbing this squared timber on the corner. Sometimes people struggle a little bit. Megan struggles at the beginning of each cut. Now fatigue is starting to set in. I can see her bow bouncing a little bit. You got to keep the saw blade in the wood.
Yeah, she's got a different style sawing in this one. She's got a lot more finesse and speed, as opposed to Jessica was all weight and just pushing right through the log.
She's bouncing her blade a lot in this last cut as fatigue starts to set in right now. She's trying to take down the 38.11 and she doesn't do it. She comes in with a 40.65, good enough for second place for the University of New Brunswick women's team. Pretty good cut. A lot of people screaming and yelling at you there, but what happened on the second cut? You lost control of the bow a little bit.
Yeah, I think I just, it wasn't just second cut. It seemed like more than that. Looks like the bow went in sideways, each cut. And then even then my saw was skipping almost all the way through. Didn't have me last comp, but I don't know.
How was the pacing all the way through? On the fourth cut, getting a little bit tired?
I was a little tired, yeah, but my key is my teammates yelling at me. They get me through my last cut to go strong.
Well, a great job there by Megan McKinley from New Brunswick, getting her a second place and 94 points for her team in the overall standings. McGill 1 takes it with 100 points on that fantastic job by Jessica Rouleau. We are now heading into the top 2 heats of the men's super Swede saw. Once again, the rules are 4 cuts on the Swede saw, but this time, Dave, they're cutting through 8x8 timbers.
8x8 instead of 6x6, Bill. It's going to take a lot more grit to get through these 4 cuts.
Well, a lot more grit. This is Connor Morse for DALHOUSIE Agricultural Campus in Truro, Nova Scotia. Once again, his consistency from cookie 1 all the way through to cookie 4. It looks like he knocked that disc away once it dropped off there. Cost him maybe a 1/10 of a second as he makes his way through cookie number 2, and he breaks off the disc, but he finishes the cut.
Yeah, as long as he cuts the full circumference of that log, Bill, he has a complete cut. He's going to go into this bottom one. He's putting a lot of weight on it. Wow, what a cut that was.
Well, fatigue is starting to set in here for Connor Morse as he makes his way through the 4th cut. He's going to set the time to beat, and it's a good one. He's been consistent all the way through. He sets the time to beat to 32.87 as we head into heat number 2. Let's tell me about your hand slipping on the top during some of those cuts.
Yeah, during my reset, I think on my second cookie, I brought the saw up and my hand kind of slipped back down the bow, and I wasn't able to get as much weight up on the top of the saw as I would have liked to keep the weight on.
But generally speaking, you got to be pleased with that cut.
Yeah, it's my first time doing this event. I switched off single buck from the last comp, so happy with the first time and hopefully do better the next comp.
Solid time there for Connor at 32.87 as we head into the last heat. Pat McMacken here from UNB is going to try and take it down. It's the last heat of the men's single buck in the 4x4.
Yeah, Pat McMacken is a tall individual here. He's going to be able to put a lot of weight on this saw, and just as I suspected, he is doing it right now. He's only put about 11 strokes on that thing, Bill.
Well, a lot of this event is about being able to handle the tool in your hands. He's got a really good blade there, and he's handling it perfectly, putting a lot of weight on it. And like I said, he's a tall guy powering through this wood.
Yeah, you saw he went through a bit of a knot there in that last cut. Doesn't seem to affect the blade much, but these blades are so expensive and so finely tuned, he's going to have to definitely check that after this, but wow, what a cut that was.
And UNB, team number 1, is going to win the men's super sweet saw with a 27.24. Pat, just tell me what you cut in general, but you had a couple of knots there, I think on cuts 3 and 4. Did it affect you at all?
No, I don't think so. I wasn't expecting it. Usually you want that clean wood, but...
Yeah, it's hard to predict that, and sometimes your blade will tell the story afterwards by taking a couple of points off.
Yeah, I think the blade still cut pretty good, but besides that, it was a good cut.
In these college shows, it's all about the overall points, and in the Super Swede, University of New Brunswick takes the win with 100 points, followed by DALHOUSIE and MCGILL. And there he is, the Fleming College Auk, been the campus mascot since 1978. A very unique mascot and a very unique school, the School of Natural Resources and Environmental Sciences, and an Auk. Probably the only school in the world that can boast of a campus Auk. We are heading into the water boil. It's typically the last event of the day. The college kids really get excited about it. It's a singles event. What are the rules here, Dave? Yeah, it's 1 athlete, 1 axe, 3 matches, and they've got 8 ounces of water to boil over the top of that can in the fastest amount of time, Bill.
And the reason why they put soap in the water is because when the water boils, the soap will boil over the edge of the can. Now, the strategy in all this is, of course, you've got to start small. You've got to start with a mitt full of shavings. You got to protect it from the wind initially, but once the fire gets going, you'll see a lot of these guys, these competitors, we're looking at the men's division here, they're going to add oxygen to it by blowing on it so it can blow hotter and blow faster. But right now, they're going to have to protect their fire from the wind.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to focus on these shavings. You see all these athletes are gritting right down into these fibers right now, trying to make the smallest shavings as possible. If they're too thick, they'll carry too much moisture and they will not ignite.
Now, you are allowed to use a block of wood to split on, to get your shavings from, just like that guy right there, but you must build your fire on the grass, and you can't use anything other than the cedar that is given to you.
Yeah, and that cedar is nice and kiln-dried stuff, but that grass, this is Lindsay in November, so there is plenty of moisture in the ground. They're going to try to keep that fluffed up on a nice nestle of grass, and there, you see some of the fires are already starting to come to life here, Bill.
Well, where there's smoke, there's fire, and a lot of guys are going to get a good base going because you have to have a lot of heat underneath the can. You see Scott there from DALHOUSIE. He's going to build a little bit of a platform. He starts with a couple of blocks on the side. Now he's going to get these things we call pencils. He's going to make a bridge and make a platform on top of those big blocks.
Yeah, he's got this log cabin style technique with those pencils. He's going to build it up around the side of the can here. He's got to keep that heat enclosed. That's the fastest way he's going to get his water to boil and take home those valuable overall points in this event.
You certainly talk a lot about the log cabin style of building. That's one of the keys because not only do you have to have a good base underneath the can, just like you mentioned, Dave, you have to have the sides heated as well. Because right now we're talking about water boiling at the bottom and coming up the sides of the cans. If they are cold, if the sides of the can are cold, the water just not going to creep up that wall and boil over. A lot of guys have good bases right now. Now it's a matter of getting the rest of that wood on that fire so they can start the blowing.
Yeah, and you got to have a really uniform base here. If it is not uniform, it is going to be really topsy-turvy, and that can flop over. If that can flops over, you got to go get more water, and that is more time and energy taken into this event. And there are going to be some smoking times as it is. You cannot afford that kind of mistake.
You see all those pieces there, a little bit bigger in pencils right now from DALHOUSIE Agricultural Campuses. Scott Withrow, which is the #1 men's team there. There's the 2 Fleming guys in the green and white. Looks like they're far behind Scott right there. He's got a great lead right now. He's got all the wood on there. Right now he's just got to blow to make it burn hotter and make it burn faster.
And you can tell he was a little nervous about his cabin he built up there. So he stacked up some major sticks of timber around that can to keep it as kind of a nice support system so that can will not flop over. Look at him now. He's got his face right down into the side of that fire.
blowing that air back into the wind, making the wind work for him on this fire, Bill.
Well, it looks like the two maritime schools, University of New Brunswick, and hear the chant going right now, taking on DAC, which is Dalhousie Agricultural Campus. It looks like they're leading the way in this water boil right now. Scott Withrow from Dalhousie is leading the way for sure. Look at the size of that fire.
Somebody call the fire department. This fire is out of control. Dalhousie is smoking this event right now.
We've got 8 ounces of soapy water that we're trying to boil right now. We've got to have a huge flame, base, and all around the can for it to boil over the edge of the can. Camera shot right there of the UNB fire right now. It looks like it's going to be a maritime school winning this. Will it be New Brunswick? Will it be Nova Scotia? There's the UNB crowd. They are getting right into it.
The student section is alive right now, Bill. I love these Canadian events. Everybody gets so pumped up for the kettle boil, and there it is. Wow, what a boil.
He's got a time of 3 minutes and 23 seconds to win the men's water boil. Classic Dalhousie University water boil. You guys are always good at that. Just tell me some of your strategies.
Oh, just getting a lot of shavings made off quick, getting it lit early, try and get lit by 10 seconds at the latest. Good base, and then get a good grill and get it built up, make it like a chimney, and hope she takes off. It was nice dry wood, so it was easy to work with. So
that's one of the keys, to have the nice dry wood, right? So, I mean, you don't want your base to go out as well. So you got to have a lot underneath.
Yeah, no, I normally go with a double grill, so a lot of people would just go with the one, but I always go with the double up, just so in case it does burn out, so it doesn't land on the ground. So it's been working for me. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, so.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Well, the late Rick Russell would be really proud with Dalhousie men's 1 team winning the water boil and garnering 100 points for their school. But look at the maritime dominance on that scoreboard.
Now the crown pivotal point of the day, Fleming wants Eric Budson single butt cut, cutting out in the bottom, costing his team valuable points in the top 5.
And the overall standings after week number 1 in the women's division, we have McGill and UNB battling it out in the top spot, only 13 points separating them. In the men's division, we also have a UNB team, but in this case, Dalhousie's leading the way.
Now our lumberjack of the day would be McGill 1's Alex Doman with a smoker of a single butt cut at 17.96 seconds.
And many thanks to Fleming College and School of Environmental Science and Natural Resources for 35 years of great competitions. Come back again next week when it'll be time for Lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks is sponsored by Echo, only professional grade with 5-year warranty. Crown, protect, maintain, save. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Yamaha, rev your heart.
At the intercollegiate competitions, they do things a little bit differently. Throughout the course of the morning, the competitors break off into a variety of different stations. They have the pulp throwing section, the quarter split section, the standing block chop overwear to my far right, as well as the single bucking station and the log decking station. In the afternoon, they're going to break up into 7 different corrals for 7 different schools. In those stations, they're going to participate in the crosscut sawing, the bow sawing, the underhand chopping, and the water boil.